Hi, this is Ryan at cannabis.com at Springville Online. I do a bunch of these blogs, these video blogs, and have a bunch of websites. I've lived a lot in my life. I have to say that, in 35 years, I've done a lot of living. I know there's people with a lot more experience out there than myself, but I've had some unique experiences. So I make these video blogs, and maybe I can connect with some people at some level or another, and we have a basic understanding of each other, or at least get my point of view across. That's why I do this. Sometimes it's good for stress relief. Sometimes it's good for, if I'm angry and I just want to say something. I like the blog, let's put it that way. And, I'm a professional. I make nearly 6 figures a year. I've been at this for almost 15 years. I've had 3 of my own brick and mortar techie stores, and I've built my own businesses and been a freelance contractor for quite a long time. I have a full-time job now as well, W-2, where I'm making money for working for somebody else doing the same kind of thing. We do pretty good, but I'm a marijuana consumer, and that's the kind of aspect that I bring, is that, hey, I work hard, I've got a family, I'm even taking care of my 91-year-old grandmother right now. She lives with us. Most of the credit goes to my wife. My wife is a very patient, loving woman, takes good care of my grandma, but we work as a team, and I'm functioning, I'm intelligent, I program my own code a lot of the times, service my own computer hardware, and take care of other people, and their computer needs and their technology. And, I have my own niches. I'm not an expert at this or an expert at that. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, but I function. I do well. Life treats me good, treats my family good. My jealous uncle wrote me once, and I'm taking care of his mom for him. I mean, of course, he's a little jealous that he can't do these things, but I can. And, he shoots me over some snide emails, and he's like, you've never worked a day in your life. You've never done anything hard in your life. And I don't know, that upsets me. So I've made blogs that, I address that I value a hard work ethic, a good work ethic. And I live a good work ethic. And if, he thinks he can prove me different, I'd like to see him compare his tax returns to mine, Don't tell me I'm lazy. I mean, you might tell me I'm conceited, you might tell me I've got a foul mouth, you might tell me that, I've had a troubled past. You might say those things about me and they'd be true. But one thing that isn't true is that I'm not a hard worker. That's absolutely false. When I was 14 years old, I got my first real job. Not that I hadn't worked before that, but I got my first real job working for a different company besides my father, or besides somebody that I knew. I started working for the irrigation company, digging ditches, and we were clearing out weeds, bringing in propane torches, burning them out, cutting them down. And I did that job for 2 summers in a row and enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, I had a blistering sunburn at the end of every day, but I could see a job well done. I could look back at the ditch I just dug and say, hey, I did that, and I feel good about doing it. I've always, been into agriculture because of that, because of those experiences in my youth. And, I babysat for my parents for 5 years practically, and, they used me exclusively for 4 of those 5 years. And, I did work. I don't know, I wasn't a great babysitter, they say, but heck, they kept coming back to me for work, so obviously I was doing a half-decent job. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had me babysitting for them for 5 years. And, I helped, I did what I could. I helped the barber shop out when I was 8 years old. I swept the floors and made $5, every week or 2 when I'd go in and say, hey, can I get some work? And they'd throw me $5, and we passed out flyers for the local coin company, the local rare coin company. My buddy Eric and I, he was like 5 years older than me, but he always had me doing stuff with him, and Yeah, we got in a little bit of trouble, but, you know, what are you going to do when you're 8 years old, you're bored, and you're poor, your family ain't got no money, and you got nothing better to do but go and hustle. So we did whatever we could to make money when I was a kid. And, you know, I'm 35 now. Jeez, it seems like it went by so fast. You know, I'm 35 years old now, and I can't say that I've accumulated a bunch of assets. It's not my goal. It's not something I'm into. I mean, with the money that my wife and I have made, certainly we could have by now, but we've always been into, you know, not necessarily charity, but we've worked philanthropy. We've worked at, you know, legalization. And, you know, during some protesting for legalization, I got arrested for using the streets without a permit. And, you know, we got a law changed, a law that had been on the municipal code of Springville City since 1968, and we got that repealed a month after I got arrested. So now people don't need a permit to go and protest. And, you know, the things that I've accomplished in my life, you know, now taking care of my grandma, raising 3 children, you know, the things that I've done in my life, I'm proud of that, you know. And I can talk about hard times. I was homeless for 3 years. I had drug habits, you know, when I was a youth. That mostly stemmed from prescription drugs that my parents prescribed me. You know, they had me prescribed for Ritalin and prescription speed and different things. And when I got to be 17, 18, I experimented with drugs. But it's been a long time since it's been a long time since I've even smoked tobacco. I haven't smoked tobacco since I was 21. And, you know, and I kicked that habit after smoking since I was 12, you know. I mean, the first time I got busted at the store stealing cigarettes, you know, because when you're 12 years old, it's hard to get cigarettes, but when your parents both smoke, you know, and you're feeling that secondhand smoke effect, you end up developing a nicotine habit, at least in my case. So, you know, the first time I got busted for tobacco was when I was 12 years old, and I had stolen a pack of cigarettes and got busted for it. But, you know, I kicked that habit at age 21 after 9 years of smoking pretty heavily. And I'm pretty proud of that, too. I mean, I've accomplished a lot. I'm not a drug user. I use medical marijuana for a cluster headache symptom. The root cause is a vascular constriction, 3 millimeter vascular constriction right there in my brain. And I use medical marijuana. And when I was a kid, I used marijuana. And I'm assuming it was probably for the same reasons. You know, I did have headaches, and they were relieved by marijuana. So I did use marijuana medicinally. I also used it recreationally. But, you know, I always thought that drugs and, you know, even alcohol was a really easy way of getting a social life and a really easy way of relieving problems. And you know, my dad was an alcoholic, you know, an admitted alcoholic, a guy that completed 12 steps and quit drinking after a lot of years, you know, after drinking through 2 different families. You know, and his first family knows it just as well as I know it. My siblings will deny it, my younger siblings, but, you know, my sisters, five of my sisters and myself all know my dad had a serious alcohol problem, and I looked at that as such a weakness, you know. I was never a drinker for that reason, and I could hold my liquor, and I drank at some keggers and some bonfire parties when I was a kid. You know, I could usually hold my liquor pretty good, but it was never a satisfying result, you know. And so, you know, I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke tobacco, I work hard, you know, I have verifiable income, you know, I've gotten a house loan based on that income, you know, and, you know, we do good. It's not like I'm just some stoner that's selling pot out the back door trying to make a living, and, you know, that's why I do my activism, because that's not true. That's not how it works for me. You know, I haven't sold bud since I was 19. I haven't sold any marijuana since I was 19 years old. I mean, it's easy money. Can't complain about the reward for selling marijuana, but you know, my brain is better than that. You know, I don't need to sell marijuana to survive. I could sell marijuana. I've done it before and was quite successful at it. But that's not something I need to do to get through life. You know, and I'm not saying I don't respect people who do sell marijuana, because, hey, you know, I just went and got me some from the dispensary. And, you know, since I haven't had crops in about 2 years of my own, you know, it's really nice to go and pick up some of this honey oil, you know. It's like butter, you know, but it's for a vaporizer. And thank goodness for the people who go out and risk it and open these dispensaries, but, you know, it's easy money and the rewards are good. And that's not something I'm into. I've always earned my money the hard way. Do I think my opinion is valid? I know it's valid to some people. It's not going to be valid to everybody. You know, Ganja John, or John Ham, wrote me, and he was furious that I'm against Initiative 502 up in Washington. And he's like, because on Facebook, you know, you can have little nicknames or maiden names along with your real name. And my nickname is Sa Bahil, which is a Gaelic word that means at home. And so I have 2 Facebook profiles. I have a, you know, business type of profile, and then I have a personal profile. And on my personal profile, I have Ryan Thompson Sa Bahil, and or Friar Ryan, you know, that's another nickname that I go by. And this Ganja John was like, "Oh, you and your hippie name, and you're full of shit. You don't believe in legalization," and, you know, because I don't support Initiative 502. You know, and Ganja John works for Normal. Heck, on the Normal Stash homepage, you know, I've got a link on their page that I've had there for years. I hadn't paid for it for a very long time. And then I noticed it there, and I started donating money to Normal. So they liked what I had to say, you know, for many years. You know, you go to stash.norml.org. My link is still there. It's been there for a long time. You can go to www.archive.org and use their Wayback Machine. You go to the stash.normal.org website, and you look back there and you see, you know, all the years that Normal have had, you know, their radio station, their Normal daily audio stash linked to me. It's going on 4 years now, you know, and heck, I haven't donated a whole lot of money to them, and I don't pay for the link. I haven't for years, but it's still there. So it's not like I've got opinions that, you know, aren't cooperating with the movement. I just happen to disagree with Initiative 502. In fact, it's the only initiative that I disagree with out of all the initiatives I've supported. I supported Prop 19. I support OCTA up in Oregon, ballot measure 80. You know, the one in Colorado out there that, what is it, Amendment 23? I forget. I think it's Amendment 23. And all of these I support. I think they're a good step. I don't think they're perfect, but I think they're a good step. Initiative 502 gives way too little, you know, to give up way too much. You know, when you're reaffirming and adding new, stricter driving penalties, when the ones that are already in the books work fine, that's a regressive step. So I reject Initiative 502 on many levels. The taxation is ridiculous. It's an awful precedent to set. The whole thing is awful. There's no, you know, sharing. You can't just give your buddy a joint without it being illegal. That's still a felony. So distribution without state authorization is a felony. Sharing is a felony. There's new stricter laws on driving. You know, you can get your blood drawn if they suspect you of driving under the influence. Say they smell your stash, and you know, like I just showed you, I've got mine with me. Say they smell that, that's probable cause. They can take your blood. If you test over 5 nanograms, you're going to jail. There's no defense. That's all regressive. But just because Ganja John and, you know, maybe Russ Belville disagree with that aspect of legalization, you know, now they're like, you know, they're just talking shit. It's not like they didn't do that with Prop 19, and, you know, they dissed on that Dragonfly girl and Craig, Canada, and, you know, all these people who disagree with Prop 19. But they didn't just disagree with them. They had that whole name-calling contest where they tried to, you know, disqualify, you know, to disregard anything these people said, they called them names. So, I don't know. I think it's silly. I think that even having that conversation is silly. But I've worked hard in my life on legalization. We've started a newspaper, a full print newspaper. We've started many websites, a radio show. I got a law changed single-handedly, and I can prove it. And so I think I've done a lot. Sometimes, in some regards, I've done a lot more than Normal has with thousands of supporters. I don't know how many laws Normal has changed, especially single-handedly, but I don't know of any. Maybe they have done some work, and maybe they have made some law changes. But, all these medical marijuana laws, other people are responsible for. Normal might have had a small part in it, but a very small part at that. And, they keep talking about all these compromises. We got to compromise. We got to compromise. We got to give a little to get a little. Man, liberty doesn't need compromise. What was it Benjamin Franklin said? He said, those who would trade liberty for security deserve nor will they get either. They'll lose both. It's true. You start giving your liberties up, you start compromising, you're going to end up nothing, You'll end up in communist China, or close enough to it. And so I don't agree with Normal on those aspects. I appreciate that they've been around for 40 years, but they aren't the first ones. Timothy Leary legalized marijuana single-handedly before Normal ever started. 1969, you look up the case of Timothy Leary versus the United States, he won that. Marijuana was legalized for almost a year. Hands down, for everybody, for any purpose, totally legalized. So, they're not the first. They're definitely active, but they're not the first, and they won't be the last, and obviously there's going to be more to come. And I just think everybody who cares anything about freedom, and lately we've been talking about this Dan Cathy thing where he said that he supports the biblical view of marriage. Well, of course he does. He's a Christian. All the other Christians do too. It's not like news. It's not like news that people are. Blast! I just passed a cop, and I think I was speeding a little bit, but yeah, he's not pulling over yet. That's good. Anyway, it's not news this guy is Christian. Of course he's Christian. Of course he supports the biblical view of marriage. What's the shock? What's the shock? He didn't say anything degrading. He didn't do anything to hurt anybody. But then you've got people in power, people with positions of authority, elected positions, and they start boycotting Chick-fil-A because Dan Cathy's a Christian? Come on, man. And that's where I drew the line. And everybody's like, well, what? Don't you support gay rights? Don't you support gay rights? Well, I support gay people having rights. Absolutely. I also support gay people having all of the rights that I do. If I can get into a contract with another person in marriage or in cooperation or in cohabitation, then, gay folks should too. I don't disagree with people having the same rights I have across the board. That's not the problem. The problem is that people are fussing so much about a guy having beliefs in biblical theology, and to go so far as to boycott them and use their political power to do so. That's where I drew the line. It's not that I don't support gay rights. I do support gay people having rights. I don't support gay-specific rights. I don't support, for example, hate crime laws. I support the laws that we have. So if someone gets beat up because they're gay, I support those people, getting charged with a crime, whatever that may be, whether it be assault and battery or whatever. Yeah, sure, people shouldn't be going around beating people up. Somebody gets murdered because they're gay or whatever, and the person gets caught that murdered them, they should get first-degree murder, capital murder, whatever. I mean, yeah, sure, they should be charged, but not any more than anybody else. I think that's stupid. It's nonsensical. I won't agree with that. That's just something that I can't agree with. I can't support that. Because that erodes liberty. That's taking, somebody else and elevating them up with more rights than other people have, or more protections. That shouldn't take place. You know, we live in an equal society, you know, where everybody's created equal. So where are all these special rights coming from? You know, there's no place for it in our society. We should have equal rights, and that's it. That's the end of the story. You know, so, you know, I just want to address these things. I've got a long drive ahead of me, and been driving for the last couple of days, and I just had some things that were on my mind, and I thought I wanted to clear those off my chest. You know, but for the gay people that are, you know, in that position of, oh, here comes that cop again. But, you know, for those gay people that are in that position, you know, what's the deal with that? Can't you just, you know, accept that? Oh, here's the cop right here. How's it going?
How's it going? You doing all right?
Yeah, I was just waiting for my wife right there. We were just coming back from Reading.
Oh, okay.
So she's already good to go. Thanks, sir. Well, anyway, there was an encounter with the law enforcement. That was good. So anyway, I just had some things on my mind, and I wanted to talk about those things. You know, I support rights. I don't support tyranny. I may be Republican and conservative. I just, for the first time in history, signed up for the Republican Party. And, you know, I never do that. You know, I never have been a part of a political party before. And this time I signed up because I wanted to support Ron Paul, because Ron Paul truly believes in liberty, and he has voted accordingly all of his political career. I haven't found one incident in his career that I disagreed with his vote. You know, I just think that people get hysterical when somebody disagrees with them. Usually if they're on a lower emotional level, maybe they've got problems in their own life, maybe they're dealing with struggles, and so people go batshit crazy and attack people to relieve stress from themselves. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's a shame that we have to have this bickering, like about the gay rights thing. You know, why attack one person for their beliefs if 6 billion other people in the world believe very similar? You know, whether they're Muslims, Jews, Christians, even Hindu. You know, I mean, I think that it's ridiculous to, maybe people just want to make themselves a target. I don't know. I don't know why people would make such an objection to that when it doesn't seem, you know, it doesn't seem that offensive. I mean, yeah, I support the biblical definition of marriage. It doesn't mean I support tyranny that would take your rights away or that would prevent you from getting your rights. But I have children, and I don't teach them polygamy either. I don't teach them that homosexuality is right, but I also don't teach them polygamy is right. I also don't teach them that promiscuous sex is right. I mean, I have a particular lifestyle and a particular way of, you know, teaching my kids values, and that's part of it, is that I teach them monogamous heterosexuality. And I demonstrate it in my own life with my wife. We don't cheat on each other. We've been married for 10 years. We were married before we even had children. We were married before we even got pregnant, you know, years before we got pregnant. So, you know, the overall issue that I have is that I don't support the gay lifestyle because I have reasons to object to it. You know, in the United States, 65%, well, actually it's more like 67% of new HIV cases are attributed to gay male sex. You know, and only 12% is due to heterosexual sex. And, you know, some of it is due to some of the heterosexual sex is due to people being bisexual, contracting AIDS in a gay relationship, and then bringing into a heterosexual relationship. So, gay sex, especially gay male sex, obviously lesbian sex is not nearly as dangerous, far less dangerous, probably far less dangerous than heterosexual sex, I would guess. But it is rather scary for me as a parent to support gay sex or gay, relationships. I don't want to see my kids dying from a life-threatening disease. And, I just think that it's something that I need to portray to my children, as a parent, that this is the life that I want them to know as the right way. And so that's why I don't teach them polygamy, I don't teach them gay marriage or sex. I teach them what I know to be true and good for myself and my family. But I do not reject other people being different. That's not me at all. I have always been different in one way or the other. I haven't always gone along with the crowd. I don't even go to a regular church. Like, I don't have a whole, congregation or membership thing. I haven't signed up for a church since I left the Mormon church. And that was 12 or 13 years ago. Gosh, maybe longer, 14 years ago now. And before that, the only reason why I joined was when I was 8 years old, my grandpa forced me to. He made me sit down, he cut my long hair. I had hair about down to here that I'd been growing out. I was only 8 years old. I was very proud of it. Not very many kids in my school had long hair. And I was pretty proud of my hair. I had really long, straggly, but long hair. And he made me cut it, and he baptized me. And man, if I wouldn't have, I probably would have got my ass beat. It's kind of what I felt like. So I resisted him. I actually told him to fuck off. And I'm surprised that didn't get my ass beat, too. But, before I even had any kind of faith in the Mormon church, before I even knew who Jesus or Joseph Smith was, they had me all baptized up and membered. I had membership and all the rest. At 8 years old, I didn't even know what I was getting signed up for. But now I won't join a church. I won't accept a membership. My relationship with Christ means more to me than that. That to me, that's an easy way out. It's an easy social life. It's an easy, career path in some cases. It's an easy way of finding babysitting for your kid. It's an easy way out. And I reject mob mentality. That's just the facts of the matter. It's not because I hate Christianity. I'm deeply devoted to Christ, and I am deeply inspired by the Bible. But I don't join up with a membership. And when people tell me I'm a Christian, I reject that because Christianity implies that I belong to some group. And I don't want that. I don't want to have that group membership. That seems weak to me, And I don't know. I guess this is probably something I hope my kids see someday. Other people are going to see it. Other people may or may not have a comment for me. But, I hope someday my kids see this. And, all these things I say are true. About my jobs as a kid, about my wage now, about my career and the path that I've taken, and, the businesses that we've owned and the laws that I've changed and supported change, and, the things that we've done in activism, and what I support as a, Christian-oriented person or a disciple of Christ. I mean, all of that is facts, and I want my kids to know who I am. Out of all the rumors and the gossips, I was just thinking about, and this is kind of why, I was just looking up Michael Jackson's kids. I was thinking, man, they're going to have a tough life growing up. They're all named really strange names. They had a really strange dad, and a lot of people always had strange rumors about Michael Jackson. God only knows if they're true or false. His family have made up stuff, his friends have made up stuff, his co-workers have made up stuff, and he never got convicted of any of the illegal things that he was accused of doing, but his kids are going to grow up with that legacy of him and the stories that all these people have made up. Is that fair? No, it's not fair. they didn't do these things, even if Michael did. But they're going to grow up with hearing those things for the rest of their lives. And I just got thinking about the things my family have said about me. I turned my back on the Mormon church and, you know, some of the mental illness in my family. There's a streak of schizophrenia going on in my family, and my aunt was diagnosed with it. My cousin, I think, what's her name? Carol, you know, she was diagnosed with it, spent some time in the state institution. So there's been 2 people that have had some mental illness in my family, and a diagnosed and verifiable mental illness in my family. And I think that, you know, others in my family have had that too. Gosh, maybe myself, I don't know. But certainly I know, you know, that I've had some run-ins with that in my family. And so we've had some bitter battles over the years that have turned sour and turned our relationship to junk. And now I'm seeing, you know, rumors that they've started about me on the internet. That, oh, I'm not a hard worker, and that, oh, I used to beat up my brothers and sisters, and that, you know, my wife works and I don't, which is the opposite of the truth right now. You know, for 2 years in our relationship, in the 10 years we've lived together, my wife did have a good job, a really good job. In fact, the job that I got us, I interviewed for it, and I got it for our company. And my wife was so good at doing graphics that she got hired. And in fact, she even did a job for Willie Nelson through that job, you know, through that company. And did a lot of good work. But we've been married 10 years coming up in October. And for the rest of those years, I've had consistent jobs. I've worked for Microsoft. I did a job as Tier 3 for MSN. I worked for Dentrix Dental Systems doing dental software front-end and back-end support and development. I did a job with Wide Open West doing tech support, and Adelphia Communications, and Federal Communications in Salt Lake City. During the time that me and her have been married. Plus, we have had our own businesses for the last 7 years. You know, we registered with the Better Business Bureau, we contributed to the community, and, you know, we had brick and mortar stores. And so all of this time, I have worked very hard. Sometimes I would work a full-time job, 40 hours a week with a W-2 type of employment, and then I would work 100 hours doing side jobs, doing installations and running cable and, you know, upgrading servers and things like that for retail stores. And, you know, getting, you know, 140 hours in a week, you know, I don't even know if that's possible, but, or in a pay period, I'm sorry. Getting 140 hours in a pay period is what I was calculating up. And I didn't get paid by the hour, you know, with my side jobs. That was just flat fees. But, you know, the time that I spent on the road and the time that I did doing the jobs, you know, plus my regular 9-to-5 job, you know, I was getting about 140 hours a paycheck, 300 hours in a month, when most people are just getting 80, you know, or 160, I mean. I'm losing it. I gotta cut this video short, but you know what? Verify the data before you believe it. Anybody can say bullshit. Very few people have the facts to prove it. You know, gossip is gossip. So this is a 30-minute video. Most people have fell asleep by now. Anyway, today, thanks for checking me out, watching me at cannabis com on YouTube, or going to my website at www.xcannabis.com. We're also running SLU2.com, and I'm trying to sell that website. It's a good 4-letter domain. It's been around. I've had it for 7 years. It's got really good traffic. So if you're interested in SLU2.com, let me know. Make me an offer. I'm willing to take a pretty good offer right now. You know, I'm willing to deal with you, to negotiate with you, I mean. All right, peace.